So what strengths do you have to support your success? So the question for you guys is, what storms are you running from? What are the things that you know you need to learn in this side of the fence that you continue to run from? Because the more you run from it, the more it will chase you. A big piece of what you're going to want to go through as we transition here is an assessment of yourself. The starting point for all of you is going to have to be, where are you today? Having an honest assessment of where you're at today. So what strengths do you have to support your success? Where are you? What is your day one? Where are you starting from today? Because you could be sitting there and you're like, you know what? I'm actually really good at sales, but I don't know anything about real estate. Okay. You know, I'm really good at marketing and networking, but I really suck at underwriting. So you're very good at underwriting, and maybe there's other areas that you lack skills or competence in. We all have our yin and a yang, right? So it's really important that you go into this with an honest depiction of where you're at. Because as you meet people, you'll get very clear on what you're looking for. So you might introduce yourself and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm really good at underwriting. I'm looking for somebody to work with on the capital raising side. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm really good at finding deals, but I don't know how to put things together. We talked a lot about this with empowering beliefs and limiting beliefs. The limiting belief that all of us have, at some point, I have this from time to time, is what if I fail? Right? This all sounds good. You know, Marcin looks like he can speak and stuff, but like, what if I'm doing this and I actually fail? Well, I have that thought too. I do. But I ask myself, how do I better manage my risk? It's the same thing. While I'm in a deal, I'm always thinking about, okay, this kind of happened this way. I could have probably adjusted. Like you're replaying the game tape. It's like if you're a baseball player, a football player, you're rewatching yourself. What could you have done differently? How could you have set things up differently? We've all had that. But you're in the deal now and you're past that gate. So, okay, that's your reality today. Next step, move on. Next time you run that cycle through again, you'll be smoother. And then you'll nag something, and it's something else. It's just the way it works. It's like those video games before they had all the fancy stuff nowadays where, if you played like Super Mario, if you died, you went from like level 1 all the way back to 0, and then you blow through like the first 3 levels because you memorized all the moves. And then the next levels, then you die with the other boss. And you guys are just, because you're reiterating, you've learned the formula to get through the first few levels. Multifamily is the same thing. Does anyone know what the word focus as an acronym? Follow one course until successful. That's focus. So one of the biggest issues people have is they never build momentum or they never build traction at anything. Because the second they start something, they're excited initially. Somebody gets them excited about something, whether it's we're going to do Airbnb arbitrage or we're going to buy apartment buildings or we're going to go buy land and pick a spot. You start down a path and they make it sound so easy and shiny out of the gate. Then you get into it and then you realize there's actually work to do. You just wash your hands and you disconnect, and then you go look for that new shiny thing. So seeing something through to its conclusion will give you that confidence to just push forward in life. I'm telling you, even if, like, let's just say you're sitting here like, you know what, my goal is to buy 1,000 doors. Okay, let's assume you go through buying your first 200-300 doors and you learn so much through the process. And as you go through that process, you realize, you know what? We're at 250 doors and I'm good now because I want to actually pull back and be more present with my kids, my brother, my sister, whatever it is. The fact that you've accomplished your goal to an extent gives you the confidence because you've gone through full cycle on something. The biggest problem people have, I see, is they get excited, motivated, they start, and as soon as they have issues for a little bit, they then pull back. And then they start looking for something else to start. And you never build that momentum. And the problem is you sound less and less and less credible to the people around you every time you restart, because who has ever met somebody who every 6 months they're doing something different? Okay, how many of you would invest with that person? No? No one? I wonder why. You guys understand what I'm saying, right? As soon as you meet somebody who's always on to the next thing, the credibility continues to diminish because they don't see anything through. We've all done it at certain points of our lives. And, there's a saying, not everybody that wanders is lost, which is also true, but at least you complete things along the way. You complete something. Mike Tyson had a quote. Well, it wasn't a quote, but he got asked, so-and-so has a plan to take you down. And you guys remember what Mike Tyson said back? He goes, yeah, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. His whole point was, yeah, everyone's got a plan when they get in the ring with me, but then when they get hit, game changes. They forget the plan. I look for people and partners that can take a punch. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how to, you know what I mean? Like, how do you react when you get hit? But seriously, like, how do you deal with the adversity? Everybody can be in a partnership when everything's going well and you guys are making money and things are working and the economy is good. Everybody can be friends. Well, what happens when the proverbial poo-poo hits the fan? How do you conduct yourself? How do you behave? Are you then running for the raft? Are you then running for, the safe boats and putting on the life jacket? Are you trying to figure out how to fix everything? And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that really find out who their business partner or unfortunately their spouse is during those hard times. It happens. You see it all the time. So for me, the biggest differentiator is character. I want to see how someone's going to react. For any of you that have done even any deal, business, real estate, you know that you go in with good intentions with certain parameters, but as things work their way through, sometimes they change drastically. And that's, you work your way through it. And if you're committed, you're committed. It's interesting to see how people change during that process. Are they trying to solve the problem or are they trying to shift blame? I can tell you for starters, anytime I've gotten myself into trouble, it's because I wanted something too bad. So if I really wanted something to happen, I got too emotionally invested in the outcome. That goes for real estate, that goes for businesses, that goes for personal relationships. As soon as you want something and you need it because in your mind you've already tied yourself to that outcome, you start to lose sense of how you got there or how you're going to get there. And as things derail or as things progress or change, those things really start to hurt because you've already envisioned yourself there and you've married yourself to that outcome. And I don't mean generally like, hey, we're going to get to 1,000 doors, we're going to get to 100 doors. And that's great. That's all where you need to be mentally. I mean, we're going to get to 100 doors and it's going to be with that building. That particular building is our ticket. When we buy this building, we're going to be able to retire. We'll put the kids through school, fill in the blank, whatever outcome. As soon as you tie yourself to that thing, whatever that tangible thing is, then you start to lose sense of how you're going to get there. And as that thing changes, as all things do, where the cash flow isn't high enough, maybe the broker might have, fibbed a little bit on the numbers. The point is, it's not the same thing anymore that you've emotionally anchored yourself to. Those are the biggest disappointments I've had in my life. How do you avoid getting disappointed? Is you don't get overly excited over any one thing. There's 4 levels of competence, in my opinion. The first one is what's called unconscious incompetence. So in other words, you don't know that you don't know. You don't know that you don't know. I'll give you an example of unconscious incompetence, okay? I'm 225 pounds now. I got up to about 255 or 260 pounds. I didn't know I was 260 pounds until I crossed the street and someone yelled, "Hey, fat ass, get off the road." And I'm like, me? How? I bought a scale. Literally. This is years ago. I bought a scale, I put it down, I stepped on it. I'm like, no, that's broken. Swear to God, I went back to the store, like, this scale's broken. Tried another one, the same thing, same number. That I was unconsciously unaware of the fact that I was so heavy. You understand? Like, it was a blinder that I didn't even know I didn't have. So some of you, in the context of capital raising, you may be unconsciously incompetent. Like, you literally don't know that you don't know. That's the first level. The second level is consciously incompetent. So now you know that you don't know. So I now knew that I was 30 or 40 pounds overweight. If the scale is right there, I am now consciously incompetent. I know that I'm overweight. Like, I'm now aware I'm dealing with this. My concern for you guys in the capital raising context is that you will become consciously incompetent when you see the deal of a lifetime pass you by. That's when it'll hit you, if it hasn't already. Because you'll see something that you'll be like, man, because in your brain, you're like, this makes sense. There's a hospital going in here. There's the GO train. There's this happening, whatever it is. Leo, you've probably had it many times over the years, right? Where you're just like, this is so obvious, right? And then you're sitting there and you're like, well, what do I do with this information? Because again, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, what if you can't hammer this one thing because financing's not available? Maybe you need to remediate the ground. Maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something here. Maybe you truly need to figure out how to put in equity, and this deal is only available for 10 days. Well, if you don't have the structure, if you don't have the tools, what are you going to do about it? Absolutely nothing. So you become consciously incompetent. The next step is I want to help you guys become consciously competent. And this is an ongoing process. This is something that you'll get a lot out of this weekend, but beyond this weekend, applying these tools, being part of a community, whether it's our community, other communities, is something that's going to be of service to you because you're going to continue to refine your ability to execute whatever that thing is. And the beautiful thing about this training is it doesn't matter if you're trying to build 200-300 units in the Maritimes, if you're trying to buy apartment buildings in the US like me, or if you're trying to buy commercial plazas in Southern Ontario or Industrial Blaze, or if you're trying to open up a car rental, whatever it is you're trying to do, as long as you understand how to structure and raise the capital, you can do it. Also, funds allow you to charge fees in very different ways than you can or can't or shouldn't in joint ventures or promissory notes, which is also a gray area for some people. In funds, it's very clear. It's very black and white. And then hopefully one day over a period of time, you become unconsciously competent. Like one of my best friends does Ironmans. He is unconsciously incompetent. The guy can go run a full marathon and, just get out of bed and go run a full marathon. I need like 6 months to go run a half marathon. By the way, just to give you guys a full loop on that overweight story, the first thing I did after that, when I knew that I was overweight, I went and signed up for an Ironman a year later. I had never swam. I didn't have a bike. And I wasn't exactly in a runner physique, but I did it because I forced myself to get into something. So, question, how much capital do you want to raise in the next 12 months? 100 million? Okay. This isn't a contest. This isn't an auction, by the way. So we got 100. So I love the 100. And these guys are already M1 members, so they're already mentally a little bit further ahead. But if somebody's never done it before, you're thinking, man, if I could even get 5 million in the door, right? That would be the next piece. Exactly. So look, this program is best designed for people that want to raise at least $5 to $10 million. You can do this in 12 months. You can be on track to do it in a month. You can be on track to do it in one check. It's all a function of how much energy and effort you put into it, but this is possible. I've done it. The last fund before COVID, the fund, I've done a lot of funds. One of the funds before COVID, we did 70 million in less than 2 years, or 68 million in less than 2 years. So it's there. It's all there for you guys. Another fund was 15 million. Another fund was it's there. This is all possible, guys. You just have to be able to structure it and see it through. So what's it going to mean to you when you can actually get that capital? Well, so it's interesting with Tom and Kush is because they just did a large raise on a 200 plus unit development. You guys have a ton of other opportunities that are now coming to you because you closed on this thing, right? So as soon as you close on something, people are like, wait, you're real? Here's everything, here's all that. You see that too as a realtor, right? Building a fund, running a fund allows you to have the gold. Also allows you to consistently be out there raising money from your investors. Whereas a JV or a promissory note, you're always trying to play matchmaker and just, it's a lot of wheel spinning. It's like the equivalent of, you ever see those cars on the road that looks like a Lamborghini, but it's like a Fiat with a Lamborghini cover on it? Yeah, it looks like a Lambo until you take it to the track, right? And then you realize it's a Fiat or a Fiero or whatever, right? That's the problem with not having a fund, is once you actually understand the fund model, you can legitimately go on the track. And then you'll have opportunities that keep coming at you. And as soon as brokers know that you run a fund, it's a totally different game. The mindset, the best way I've found to summarize the mindset is in the context of be, do, and have. So the three types of personalities that concept impacts are the victim, the worker, and the winner. Now, the victim, by the way, just so you guys know, all three of those personalities are present in you. And you, and you, and me. Like, for example, this morning I woke up like a victim, okay, because my daughter was up early, so I was up early. And, the victim says things like, why did this happen to me? How come this? How come that? More importantly, in the context of be, do, have, the victim says things like, oh, well, that's easy for you, Marcin, because you have context, you have the knowledge, you have the experience, you have the track record. If I had those things, I could do what you're doing, and then I would be successful or I would be happy. So the victim puts the lack of having as the reason why they're not doing anything about it, why they can't do anything. You guys understand? So literally, because you don't have something, you're immediately a victim. You can't do anything about it. I don't have this, therefore I can't do anything. I don't have any money, so I can't buy any real estate. Okay. Well, if I ever let money stop me, I would have never bought my first property. I would have never bought my first company. I would have never fill in the blank last thing I did. You figure it out, right? So that's the victim mentality. Most of you are not the victim, but sometimes we end up having a pity party for ourselves. Like, hey, this is hard. This sucks. Like, I've been trying this for, if only I had, the right assistant, if only I had the right spouse, if only I had the right partner, if only I had the right whatever, fill in the blank. We all fall into that victim mentality sometimes. Like this morning, I'm like, oh, if we only had a nanny here in Toronto, she could have dealt with my daughter, blah, 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 blah. Like we all have it, right? Like it's just at 3 a.m, it seemed like a reasonable thought, right? Like it's just, she comes in with a full, anyway, you guys have kids, so you guys get it. Anyway, so that's the victim in the context of capital raising. The next person is the worker. So the worker will say things like, oh, I got to get this done because I got to have this commission check, because once I get this commission check, I can be more present with my kids. I can be more available to my spouse. I can be, happy. I can be relaxed. So the worker is constantly having to do something in order to get something before they can feel a certain way. I lived my 20s this way, my entire 20s, and a good portion of my early 30s now that I think about it, where it was always the next thing, the next deal, the next opportunity, the next outcome, the next thing I had to do, because I equated the person I was to the things I did. Does that make sense? Like that was my identity. There are people very close to me in my life that are very high up in certain organizations, public and private, and their identity is rooted in that identity. Pardon me, their identity is rooted in that role. So they're like, once they retire, like one of them I'm really worried about because I don't know what this person's going to do, because their identity is all consumed in that role, right? Because they live in that worker state. They need to do X to have the notoriety, to feel valued, to be, that person. That's their role. So that's the worker mentality. The one that hits different in the context of capital raising is the victor. And the victor thinks not, well, that's easy for you, Marcin, or that's easy for you guys, or, I could do that if I had the same experience they had, or blah, 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 blah. The victor thinks in the context of this: who do I need to become to be able to do what's required to have the outcome I want? This is easier said than done, but this is the one thing that continues to be my North Star, my compass in my life, because I literally have this above my desk. And it's one of those things that whenever I come across something I can't handle, I ask myself the question of, okay, well, what am I missing? Who do I need to know? Who do I need to become? What am I not seeing to solve this issue? Because some other people have solved this issue. It's there. So what am I missing? Like, what is it about me that I am missing that is not giving me the ability to execute this correctly? And it's a different thought process, because you go from being a victim to a victor. You are now empowered to do something about it. And the reason why I go through this with you guys here this weekend is because as I share other things, at some point your cup is just going to go full and you're going to go, okay, I'm out. Like, you won't, hopefully you don't stand up and say that, but in your head, you're going to be like, all right, like, my cup's full. This isn't for me. It's too much. I feel that way when I play video games with kids, like I get my ass kicked at every level. I can't compete. Like, it's just too much to learn, right? Like, it's just immediate. Like, you're frustrated, you're out, you're done, right? My whole thing with you guys here is that's fine, but just be aware of those limiting thoughts you have. This is really important for capital raising because I'm telling you right now, it is not the deal that will sell you. It is you that will sell the deal. So, question for you guys. Who do I need to become if you've never raised any money to raise your first $1 million? So the next piece, your mindset. We talked about it, the victim, the worker, and the winner. So how do you address that mindset once you identify it? Well, it all starts with reframing your thoughts. So the number one issue people have in their mind is they think things like, what if I fail? Well, I think that all the time, guys. I just don't say it that way. I say, how do I manage my risk? Like this, I see risk. How do I manage my risk? So it's the same thing. You guys understand? Like it's the same thought. What if I fail? Because there's risk. Okay, how do I manage my risk? So this one empowers me to do something about it. I can take action on this. I can actually address the devil or the demon or the issue that I'm potentially facing. Whereas if I just say something like, what if I fail? Well, okay, well, that doesn't give me the room to do anything. Another question, I don't know where to start. Who can I learn from to feel more confident? I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm slugging real estate signs because for me, at that age, I thought real estate brokers had it all figured out. And I still learned a lot. It was my way in the business. Now at my age, I pay for mentorship. I was just telling Tom and Kush, I'm part of a mastermind. We're just heading down to Costa Rica here for about a week. Then I've got another mastermind. I mean, I spent a lot of money on this stuff. Easily 6 figures a year, like easily. I'm not saying that's what you need to do. It's just what I do. Because for me, it's too expensive to make the mistake. You guys understand? Like it's too expensive, not just financially, but time-wise. Like I don't want the 6-month learning curve. I'll pay for the speed of the time today. And I'll listen to someone else that went through that same experience and they'll say a few things where I'm immediately like, okay, shit, scrap that, do this, change this. I got on a call with a mentor Thursday about something. I shared my screen. Within 60 seconds, you tore me apart, repositioned a whole bunch of stuff, gone. Probably saved me 20 grand in 30 seconds. Things that I'm unconsciously incompetent. I didn't know that I didn't know certain things. You guys understand? Like I didn't know. So the value there is for me tremendous. Never done this before. Who can I work with to become more credible? All right. There's a reason why people buy into franchises or licensing agreements or different organizations or opportunities or take internships or go work at banks or do whatever it is, because you're looking for that credibility. You're looking for that track record. You're looking for that experience. You're trying to figure out whose wagon you can hitch yourself to. I got a job in PE when I was 20 or 21. I showed up in Calgary. I didn't even know what they were going to pay me. I didn't care. I'm serious. I didn't ask for a contract. I didn't ask for anything. I just wanted to show up before they changed their mind. Honestly, I was just like, they're like, okay, you're in. I'm like, great. I'll be there next week. They're like, yeah, we're in Calgary. I'm like, beautiful. They're like, you're in Toronto. I'm like, yeah, I'm going that way anyway. I'll figure it out. You know, then I went on, it wasn't Google Maps yet, it was MapQuest. And I'm like, shit, where is this Calgary? Like I'd never been there before. I Googled it. I'm like, holy crap, that's a long drive. I had no idea, right? I was so committed to I didn't care. You understand? I would have gone to Nukpuk Tuk Nunavut to go work there. I didn't care. You know, I wanted the experience. I wanted the credibility because I immediately went from doing what I did to buying 200-300 unit apartment buildings. That credibility, like, how do you buy this? How do you buy that experience? You don't. So I just said yes. After 3 months, I finally asked to start getting paid. Literally, I didn't get paid for 3 months. They didn't know that they didn't put me on the payroll because I just started showing up. And then after I firmly implanted myself in the company and started adding value, I'm like, hey, so am I going to start getting paid? They're like, you don't get paid? I'm like, no. They're like, oh, go talk to, Jimmy so-and-so or whatever. I'm like, I walk in, he goes, he looks at me, he laughs. He goes, we haven't paid you for 3 months. I'm like, no. He goes, where's your contract? I'm like, you guys haven't given me one. Because they were a fast growing PE firm. They were growing so fast, they didn't even notice. They didn't legally hire him. I didn't care. You guys understand? I wasn't trying to be a piker. I wasn't trying to create any friction over the fact that, God forbid, there was a misunderstanding about them hiring me. All right. Like I wanted a desk first because I didn't have the university degree. I didn't have the credit. I didn't belong in the room. You guys understand? Like, I didn't belong in that office. I didn't have the degree. I didn't have the credentials. Everybody was supposed to be done university. I dropped out of university because I had the opportunity. I just didn't want anybody to review my file again and be like, so who, because the question is like, whose son are you? Whose daughter are you? I didn't want any of those things. So what is it that you're willing to do? So that's the piece. I don't know anybody with money. Why not say this? How can I add more value to become worth knowing? So it goes on and on and on and on. Now, if you're at the you guys aren't all cows, okay? If you're at the multifamily conference, you saw this. So you know what the biggest difference between cows and buffaloes are? One of the biggest differences? When there's a thunderstorm, the cows run from the thunderstorm. They run away. You know what ends up happening? Thunderstorms move, right? So they end up chasing the cows. So they end up getting wet longer. Literally what happens. You can Google, you can fact check me after this. Cows literally run from the storm. Whereas a buffalo, they intuitively know that the safest place in a storm is in the eye of the storm. So all buffaloes, bison, run into storms. They literally charge right into the storm. And what ends up happening is they end up running out of the storm. The very thing they're afraid of, they charge right at it. And what ends up happening is the storm moves away and they're fine. So the question for you guys is, what storms are you running from? What are the things that you know you need to learn in this side of the fence that you continue to run from? Because the more you run from it, the more it will chase you. The more it will remind you that that is the thing that you're missing. Whatever that thing is. You don't know how to read financial statements? You're going to you're going to keep getting your ass kicked. You're going to keep getting conned. You're going to keep losing money. Don't know how to talk to people? You're going to keep getting shit deals. Don't know how to negotiate? You're going to keep getting outflanked. Now, if you're comfortable and you're happy with doing JVs, great. God bless. Do them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'd rather do one deal a year than 50.